Hello, everyone. My name is Birim. I'm Communication and Digital Marketing Team Lead at Zero Density, and also, as you can see, part-time moderator for webinars. Today, we have Riot Games, Pop-Up Media, Aura Studio to discuss live esports broadcasts from the latest projects of Valorant, League of Legends finals in Latin America. But before we start our webinar, let me give the word to Onur. A little bit background of Zero Density for the attendees who don't know about our company. So Onur, up to you now.
Thank you so much, Birim. As Birim mentioned, we have three valuable guests today, and we are going to talk about an amazing production that took place in Mexico City. This is Onur Can Gülenç. I'm the territory sales manager responsible for Central and Eastern US and Latin American regions at Zero Density, and I am based in Atlanta, Georgia. Before we give the microphone to our valuable speakers and guests, I would like to say a few words about Zero Density in case we have some new attendees and audience that do not know about the company. So Zero Density is a software company, the creator of Reality Virtual Studio and augmented reality software technology. The product was launched in early 2016, and it provided many firsts to the broadcasting industry, including the first software platform ever that utilized any kind of gaming technology, such as Unreal Engine 4. Currently, we have installations at 45 countries, including, of course, Mexico and US. Maybe we can go to the next slide, Birim. And I think this is an important statistics because I think it is safe to say that Zero Density is known for its reliability of its products, stability of its products. Until now, we have been on air for more than 1.2 million hours of content. And among that, there are news shows, sports shows, elections from all around the world, reality TV shows, and of course, esports tournaments like the one we had in Mexico City. And I think it is also safe to say that since the launch of the product, since early 2016, Zero Density have been the dominant choice among the Tier 1 broadcasters and media companies all around the world. Just to name some references, Warner Media is a strategic client based in Atlanta, Georgia. The Weather Channel, Fox Sports US, BBC Sport from UK, Charter Communications again from United States, TV Globo, the largest private TV network from Brazil, Star India, a Walt Disney company, and of course Riot Games and so many others. So after this brief snapshot about the company, I would like to introduce our speakers. So we have Miguel Oyamburu, esports broadcast specialist from Riot Games, and Arias Cho, CEO of Pop-Up Media, an official Zero Density partner, and Tim De Gosanko, CTO of EasyTrack, which is the camera tracking solution provider for this amazing event. And without further ado, I would like to give mic back to Birim, and so she can continue the webinar.
Thank you, Onur. Before we start, I just like to mention that do not hesitate to ask questions and drop them in the Q&A box. I will take them as we go forward. Since this is a live webinar, please bear with us if we have any mistakes, if we say anything out of the ordinary, and let's keep it between us, okay? So let's start with Miguel, actually.
Hello. How are you guys? My name is Miguel. I've been working in Riot for 7 years now, and before that, I used to work a lot in production for music festivals in the whole Latin America. Right now, I take care of all the Riot productions for all esports, broadcasts, and events. And yeah, that's it. That's me. Really short introduction.
Thank you, Miguel. Let's move on to Pop-Up Media and Aura Studio.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ariel, and I'm located in Atlanta, Georgia. A bit about us. We have been in the market for 20 years doing news and sports organization evolutions from strategy to on-air graphics and advanced storytelling, AR and XR. We have offices in Atlanta, Georgia, Florida, and Santiago, Chile. And we're servicing currently clients in the US, Latin America, and Asia. With Riot, we've been working for about 5 years now, helping them in different aspects of productions. And about the main pillars of, I would say, our organization, first of all, is creativity. We approach our projects with one thing in mind: can it be done differently? Can we achieve something new, something extraordinary, something that sets the standards? The second aspect is technology. We are technology fans. We live at the forefront of new technology that allows consistently and successfully create new solutions to impact audiences with inspiring, memorable, and credible content. And we have a team of dedicated serial innovators in-house and in R&D that allow us to implement any custom solution. And finally, workflow. Workflow is our DNA. We understand that in order to achieve things, they need to live after that. So I would say that with more than 20 years in the media industry, we have a diverse range of clients that those provide us a very solid foundation in the management, diversification, and optimization of those resources. And for us, workflow is the beginning and the end. So that's a bit about us.
So Tim, over to you.
Hi everyone. So my name is Tim. We are located in France, in Bordeaux. So I have like 10 years experience in virtual production, especially in camera tracking, lens calibration, and all the technical side for the virtual production setup. And we created Oaro company like 2 years ago, and we developed the product EasyTrack, a camera tracking hub that we have been it has been used on this project for camera tracking, sorry, and also object tracking. Thank you. Thank you,
Tim. So, okay, let's start our discussion. As you can see, we are in the virtual studio of Zero Density headquarters, and very kindly, Riot Games shared the design, Pop-Up Media and Aura shared the design with us to use it in this webinar. So you can see what they used in the actual project. So let's move on to Miguel and ask him, like, Riot Games Latin America have been doing a lot of AR, XR, and virtual studio in their esports events. So, but particularly, what was the agenda for this one? What you wanted to achieve with Valorant and League of Legends?
Well, as you know, Riot is really investing in our audience experience and our players. We don't call our audience viewers, we call them players, right? Because they play our game, right? So we're really invested in their experiences. So we usually have these big, massive esports final events where everybody attend and everybody thrill and share with the pro players, right? But unfortunately, this year we weren't able to do that because of, everybody know, the COVID and stuff in Latin America is not that good. So we had to come up with a solution where we can share this experience and make a unique way of sharing with all our players what we were feeling in the stage, right? And we thought that the AR with ours that we have in our back, that's our venue. So we wanted to combine both spaces, like our arena, and make it bigger and more amazing that there already is for people that couldn't be there, right? So that's why we decided to go to the AR VR side of technology.
Thank you. So Ariel and afterwards Tim, what was your approach to these plans and needs of Riot Games just before the actual production?
Yeah, so from our point of view, when we start discussing what can we do, and again, from Riot point of view, although if we have like in-presence event, the amount of people that can assist to those events are around 5,000, 10,000, but most of the players are joining from the internet, right? So basically, what we needed to create is an amazing experience for those, no matter if there is COVID or no COVID. So we had to do something, and we wanted to do something that is spectacular and that pushes boundaries on one hand, something that has not been done before. And this is something that Miguel agrees with us. We always want to innovate. And
Yes.
again, something that is cost effective. Why? Because obviously there are certain regions that have more budget than others, and cost effectiveness was a major issue. Another aspect, that it's COVID doable. Okay, we didn't know what's going to happen with COVID, and we need to come up with a plan that can be actually achieved. And I would say that the last thing is to do something that is completely different for two different games, one for League of Legends and one for Valorant. So although we're using absolutely the same technology and the same setup, from a gamer point of view, they would get completely different experiences. And I would say that when we start thinking about that, those are the main issues that we were concerned about.
Thank
Back
you.
to you.
So Tim, what about you?
Yeah, so about this project, I remember when we were in contact with Ariel, he explained us he wants something very different because of the context, of course, and also because of there's two games, Valorant and League of Legends, so we have to keep the same setup, but to prepare something quite different for the both. So it was about how can we extend the venue in a different way for the both setup. We were talking about also camera tracking, of course, augmented reality, but we're also talking about how can we use a screen inside the venue. Also, they want to offer some different virtual production setup. So they talk a lot about can we track some objects to give more to the public, to the audience. And they were also talking about the universe they want to show. So it was this kind of futuristic city. So they want like a lot of flying cam inside this venue to try to give more to the audience. So we talk a lot with them, and we try to propose something that can fit their needs for these two projects, Valorant and League of Legends.
So you all talked a bit about actually the vision, and Miguel talked about what they wanted to offer, a different kind of experience. But what about the brief you gave to Ariel and Tim? Like, let's talk about the concept a little bit. Do you have any specific? We will move on to the presentation, but let's talk about the concept. Let's talk about design.
Yeah, so when we started working on the design, we started with the concept. We wanted to create something that is beyond the physical venue that we have there in arts, right, Miguel? We spoke about like let's make this bigger. Let's create an experience of something that is looking into the future. And what motivated us and the concept behind this was, how do we see League of Legends in the future? How it shapes every days, how it's shaping the city, how it's shaping the culture, how it's shaping everything around it. And the idea was to integrate this venue into an environment. So we started creating a virtual city in terms of futuristic. And based on that, we presented that initial concept that was an elevator, right? Which actually goes up and down. And why is that? Because we wanted to have different point of views of the city. So we had to create something that had a mechanical logic, right? Because it has to be real. So that elevator can go up and down, and we have different point of view of the city. So that was what we're seeing here is actually the concept of, if you can go one back, please. Yeah, that was actually the concept. Then we started working with Riot Creative Director because, again, the concept initially of the city that we created was a bit more messy. And they wanted something that is a bit more structured. So we started working together with them on a mood board, and we reached the process. And if you can now move on to the next slide. So we reached something. Here we see, for example, the integration of the venue. We had those portal windows into the city. The idea is from the venue, we can look outside into the city. Imagine that this venue is on an elevator, so it goes up and down. And also we have a virtual camera that can go out of the venue and integrate within the city. If we can move, yeah. So here we have like the drawings that we started when we made the elevator sketch. And if we move to the next one, we have the elevator model. And so here we have the model with the portal windows. And you see the front window, which actually integrates into the city. And here we have like the inside of the venue. So part of this was how we are going to integrate the real venue in terms of arts, in terms of concept with the city. So the solution that we came here was actually integrating elements that were part of the city. But we'll talk about it later also with Tim. And a crucial part of this was how we're going to integrate lighting also. The lights of the venue with all those AR elements that we have in the menu, in the venue, because those are the ones that gives actually a full realism when you integrate both of them. So that's something we'll show in a second. If we can go next one. So here also, and Miguel, you can talk a bit about this. We wanted to bring some local cultures. Riot Latam is focusing on all Latin America. There are different cultures, different players in different regions. So we wanted to bring some aspect of culture. Miguel, you want to speak about this?
Yeah, we as Riot Games Latam, we love to like be proud of our community. And as Ariel said, we have a community from Mexico all the way down to Chile. So we have different cultures. They might sound the same, but they're totally different. So we wanted to kind of give a little Easter egg, a gimmick to all the different countries in the region. So we came up with this food trucks ideas that we hide them in the city. So the thing is that only if you are from Colombia, you would understand why that thing is there, or only if you are from Chile, you would understand the little motorcycle there. So I think people really appreciate it because it's not just a generic city. So we made it custom, pretending like to get the feeling of what would Latam would be in the future, right?
Also, I want to ask you, Miguel, like seeing all this concept design from pop-up media, how did you feel about all this in the sketch? And could you, for example, visualize it in your head and see what the impact it would bring?
Yeah, we could visualize everything that we were preparing, but that was one of the biggest challenge we had, because we didn't get actually chance to set it up and test it out just 1 week before the production. So one of the hardest part we had is that we have to imagine everything in our heads, and we couldn't see anything in the actual venue until 1 week before the production, because everybody was working. Tim was in France, Ariel was in Atlanta, I'm in Mexico City, so everything was virtual. And I mean, all these visuals help you a lot to see how you're gonna see it on stage. But once we got on stage and we set everything up, it was mind-blowing, totally different as I expected, like totally higher than I expected. And that's probably because of we didn't have the chance to actually go there and test things, you know?
Yeah, and I remember the constant push from a Riot management team to see more and more and more.
Yeah.
Every week.
Yeah, because they were as well a little bit uncertain. I don't know if that's the word, right? But they were like uncertain because we couldn't see actual things on the venue. And for that, you have to set up all the tracking and track all the cameras and set everything up. And we couldn't do that because one of the other thing is we were not just shooting for one event. We shoot for 1 month of production inside the venue, right? So we had Valorant for 3 days, and then we have LLA for 3 days with the same setup. So as Ariel said, it had to be cost efficient, right? So we couldn't have a lot of time of pre-production on site for setting everything up and getting approvals on how it would look. So it was risky, but it actually worked. It worked really good.
Great. Let's move on with the concept, and then I will ask everything about the setup and how the production go. How did the production go?
Yeah, so here we
Did
see
I spoiled anything? I'm sorry, guys.
Oh, no, not at all.
So an important part here was creating also corners in the city that will allow us to show live stats, to show information, to create a space where we can sponsor and create monetization opportunities. Riot sponsors are an important part of their business, and we wanted to add value to them. So this is also part of what was created around the city. Yeah, and
so
here
literally we're on fire.
Yeah, so here we have a simulation. This is part of what Miguel talked about. We had to recreate our stage, simulate the 3D environment. And it was surprising how everything worked out from the planning phase to the implementation. Everything that we actually planned to do and then how it fit into the real venue was completely successful. And this, I think, was a crucial part in order to gain some time. Here we also we wanted to do some important like Riot merchandising. So the idea was to have the team merchandising, etc. So I don't know, Birim, if now we can switch to some of the videos. We can maybe start with the show intro. This will show us a bit. This was actually the show opening of the final. Miguel, you want to talk a bit about this?
Yeah, it gives me nightmares. No, I'm just kidding. so basically, for this show, we had 3 stages that we use this technology. We call it playoffs because we have like quarterfinals, semifinals, and then the finals. And the idea for this was to start delivering a little bit of the city, each of the stages, and a little bit of the technology we integrated through the 3 stages. So we don't just put all our eggs in one basket in one single day, right? These are the finals where we finally showed the city, and we show, you see there the cars and all the different areas we have in there. So this is like the peak point of the whole project. And yeah, this is our host. She's presenting what the high stakes that are taking place that day, which is the finals, right? The winner of this competition goes to play Worlds, which is the most important League of Legends competition in the world. And yeah, basically we started like showing who were there. As you can see, there's a lot of, you see Telcel there, there's a lot of sponsors integration naturally into the city, which is the good part. Our sponsors were happy about it, right? And it gives us a lot of opportunity to integrate our sponsors in there, because you don't have the physical area. You can just put them whatever you can imagine. Probably later you'll see it there. There's another sponsor that is called Total Play, that you can see it on the back, that were drones showing their logo. So you basically do whatever you want with your sponsors, or whatever you want with this area. And yeah, I don't know if that's what we were talking about. Sorry.
Yeah.
I usually go off topic. Sorry, guys. You got to bring me down to the topic.
That's okay. If we can switch now to the next video, the 02, and there what we can see is the transitions between the virtual, the venue, the real venue, and the world. We had several type of transitions. Here you see also, stats integration after each game. Some of the object tracking that Tim will talk about it later. You see also the XR effect on the video wall behind us, with the crane camera moving, all the cities changing accordingly. It was quite a complex setup because we had 7 video walls here in total. And here also the ability to show some content related to, for example, the Champ Select. Everything here was handled by Zero Density, the Champ Select, etc. So let's talk a bit about AR. If you can move up to the next video, to the AR video. So here we can see about the AR and the integration. We've integrated several aspects of AR, including the DMX lighting. We worked with 3 fully tracked camera, 2 PTZ, and 1 crane. And here you see that's the Valorant venue. This is the LLA venue, and if you see it, it's quite similar to the sketch or the simulation that we did before that. All the elements here are affected by DMX. We created some effects that are related to the game regarding dragons, etc. And I would say that here, from this point of view, that effect of integrating the I remember, Miguel, do you remember some people asked us if we actually built this physically in the venue?
Yeah, for the Valorant one, we were getting like comments from Riot Central, which is in Los Angeles, and they were like, did you guys actually build the Valorant scenario inside the arena? It was like, no, dude, it's augmented reality, right? But it's amazing. The good thing that Ariel was talking about, that I was really excited, like amazed with, is the connection, like the DMX connection with the engine Lightning, because it helped a lot to mix the augmented reality with the real reality. That's how I called it, remember? and that's I think that's one of the biggest and most important parts when you work with augmented reality, because sometimes you have really good renders and really good shaders and really good lighting in the 3D part of it, but in the arena, in the physical part of it, you don't have them. So you see a big gap between both of them, right? But if you manage to have the same lighting inside the 3D and inside the venue, it helps a lot to mix everything. You can see it there, like the greens, those are real lighting, like the LED panels, and then you see everything green, and you can see like the spikies, the blue spikies running around the 3D areas. You see them on the seats, and then you see them on the walls, like there, and that's what makes the magic here, I think.
Yeah. So if we can move to the next one, which is the XR video. So here we can talk a bit about about the amazing opportunity that we had to create like a 3D space. Here we can see how the background is changing according to each camera switch. But that depth of field that can be created through LED screens and the XR technology is amazing. So I think that was a great experience. Here we had the band and the ability to move with this camera and get different perspective of the city was really great. Another aspect is that we wanted to give a complete immersion of this concept into the game. So if we can move to the next video, the Virtual Rift one, we integrated actually the city into the game. And that was, I think, also something that surprised, because again, this is a game, Miguel, you can talk a bit about this, because League of Legends is a game that has been in the market for many years.
11 years now.
Yeah, with older engine technology, it's not based on Unreal, but we were able to create this and make this also part of this Rift. So
yeah, usually what you see here is like a blue sky, which is the normal Summoner Rift background. So we managed to integrate all the city inside the actual game, and that helps us. That helped us a lot with the whole concept, integrating the whole thing, the whole idea, because it will be really disruptive if you have this amazing 3D area and then you just go into the game and nothing happens. And remember, in our broadcast, I would say 75 to 80% of our broadcast time we're inside the game, right? So there was a good idea to integrate the city inside the game and help merge everything together.
Yeah. If we can move to the next video. Sorry, Anur.
I would like to have one question about this. It doesn't seem like a rendered video. It seems like it is the real-time gameplay.
Exactly. Exactly.
It is real-time game. That is the game the players are playing.
Exactly. That's the actual game when they are playing in real time. There's no delay. There's no pre-recording in there, and that's what we did. We had to map the city to make a 360 surrounding area, which is the background of the actual Rift, and that's the camera in game that we call them the observers. They go in there and move around the arena. Well, it's not the arena. I don't know how to translate that to like the Summoner Rift, we call it, right? Like the court of the game, and that's like the actual background of the court of the game. And yeah, those guys are ready to play. They're about to each other.
I figured because the players are moving from left to right very quickly. It is not, they feel like they're being controlled by actual players in real time.
Yeah, no, that's real time before they started the match. Yep.
Very cool.
So if we can move to the next one.
Warming up the players.
Yeah, they are actually getting ready for the minions to come out. I don't know if anybody in the audience is a League of Legends fan and understand what's going on, but they were ready to hit each other.
So here we see the portal window. We did several portal window effects. This was for the Valorant intro. Here what we did, we got the characters of the agents from Riot. We animated them, but the idea here was to integrate those from the video walls through portal windows into that scenario. And that was something also, I think, Miguel, that the audience was very surprised to see that, because I think no region has done this before, right?
No, nobody ever did this before, like having the actual arena, because you see around the esports arena, you see like this structure going in there. That's an actual map from the game. So you were inside the map watching what was going on, and you see we broke like I call it the fourth dimension. You know what it's behind the screens and inside the venue, like with this agents coming in and having their animation in and stuff. It was like perfect merging what was going on that people already saw on the background, right? Because this was the finals. It was the third day after all the production, and they were used to see like the tracking of the arena. You see the stairs behind there and how the camera moves, and they saw the ceiling and everything, but they never also how we broke that fourth dimension, and this is the way we did it, like taking agents with their actions outside of the screens, like they were in the map, and joining into the real part of it.
So if we can go to the next video of object tracking, and Tim, you can talk a bit about this here. So here, yeah, we tracked actually the trophy of. Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, so we decide to track an object. So you can see here the player. So at the very end of the game, LLA, so just all the trophy and the effect on top of it was following the cup. So we attach a very discrete tracking at the bottom of the cup, and it was working pretty well, in fact. We're a bit afraid that they detach the tracking during the
excitement.
Yeah, it was exactly. So I was just in the back checking if everything was nice, but it was good.
You don't see Tim, but he's
yelling.
hiding.
Yeah, I was very close, and I was following every movement of the trophy to be sure everything was fine.
He is yelling from the behind, "Don't break the trophy! Don't break the tracker!"
It was exactly that.
he actually was wearing a team jersey in case he needed to get in, just to merge with the team. Like, oh yeah, I'm part of the team.
So it's not that everything went quite smooth. We had some surprises, right, Miguel?
Yeah.
Somebody decided to disconnect a power outlet.
Oh yeah, that was one of the worst things, because you know the PTZ cameras, they are PoE, and somebody just decided they needed to charge their phone, and they unplugged the switcher, the Ethernet switch, right? That gives the PTZ the energy. So for 5 seconds we lose all the tracking robotic cameras because somebody decided just to unplug it in there.
But this is part
the
of
human factor.
Now.
Yeah, the human factor of it.
That happens.
Birim, I think we're ready to move a bit about to the technical solution.
Yep, it was a good overview actually, like to warm up. So, okay, let's talk about the actual setup a little bit more in detail, like what was used in terms of camera, what was used, how many engines were used, the tracking, of course, we're going to talk about that. But yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, so it's my part. Okay, so I will give you a bit some context. So you can see on the right there is a map of the venue. So as you notice, there is 2 levels inside this venue. There is a low level for the presenter or for the show, and the top level is for the gamer. So so we have to put some camera to shoot everything. So we have 1 crane. So we can move to next slide. Well, it was located on the low level. So we have 1 crane. It's the main augmented reality axis. So we have to track this crane on the low level. I will talk a bit more about this later. We have 2 PTZ from Sony PTZ. So one on the very back of the venue and one on the side with also augmented reality. There were also 4 regular camera on pedestals. So everywhere inside the venue to shot the show. Because the nice thing is that we have a LED wall, so that means you can still use regular camera and get a nice image. There is also 1 object tracking area for the trophy. We have seen the video before. I will also come back to this later. And in this venue, we had 7 LED walls, so 7 panels of LED, and we use the zero density to manage all of these panels. And also something very important is that the map you can see is the venue, but there is also 1 server room that is not close to the stage, and there is also 1 control room also not close to the stage. So that means all the tracking is over IP. It's also important for what we see next. So let's move to the next slide, and I will talk a bit more about the LED screen setup. So as you can see in the image, it was during the calibration of the screen. We have like 7 screens, but we use only 4 reality engines to handle this, and we have multiple outputs from the engines. And how we handle this, we use the portal window effects. If you want to handle this kind of XR screen, you can go to the documentation of Zero Density. There is a topic about this. It's pretty well done. It explains you how to manage this kind of LED wall. So when you move your camera, what you see inside the screen is moving according to the point of view of your camera. Okay, so when we move the crane, for instance, we have to move the rendering inside all the screen we have in the picture to match the point of view of the crane. But what you also have to be careful is that when the director in the control room want to change the point of view of the camera, for instance, he want to go to the crane to a PTZ, we have to move the point of view of all the rendering of the screen. So that means we develop during this project, in fact, we develop a quick plugin between the video switcher, it was a Carbonite from Ross, and the Zero Density. So when the director was clicking on the Carbonite button to change the camera, we also send a command to Zero Density to say, okay, be careful, you have to change the tracking input inside all the engine running the LED screen to get the good point of view in the right timing. So this way we were able to, the director was quite happy with this because it was okay for him to change with one button and not to synchronize with the guy doing running the Zero Density panel. So this is something you have to care about when you do LED screen setup. Maybe Ariel, you want to add something about this?
Yeah, actually, we had more than 7 LED walls, but for purpose of tracking, we used only 7. So like the main wall that you see on the center of the venue is more for the viewer experience, but I think 7 was a good enough number to make it count.
And of course, the resolution is, you have to check also every resolution, every aspect ratio of everything. But we succeed at the end. And you also
I think,
yes,
I want to add something, Tim. There, I think, and also an important part of it is that we never mentioned it, but this is an actual movie theater, right? So we have to adapt to the movie theater space. We don't have like a big forum where we can just hang whatever we want and set stuff whatever we want. We have to adapt to the actual space that we already have. So that's another important thing there.
Correct.
So we can talk about a bit more about the tracking system we use during the show, maybe. Yeah, it's on this slide. So when we talk with Ariel and with Miguel about this project, so they say we want to track crane, okay. They also want object tracking, okay, and they want also add some PTZ tracking, so okay. So we decide to use the EasyTrack system to handle this. So we use, in fact, in total, we use 3 EasyTrack systems. One was used for the crane with the Lighthouse technology. We will go to this later. We also use one EasyTrack hub for the object tracking on the second on the top level of the stage, and also for the PTZ we need to use EasyTrack hub because it's Sony only deliver one tracking output from the camera, but we need, because of the portal window and also because we need the tracking from the PTZ for the flying camera, we need to output the signal to several engines. So EasyTrack was like a nice tool to duplicate the stream of the tracking, but I will cover this later. And one important stuff also is that, as I said before, the control room on the server was not close to the crane, or not close from so it was important to transform every tracking over IP and to be able to remote control everything over IP. So that's why EasyTrack was nice to do that, because you can do all your setting anywhere from the venue as long as you are on the network. And then you can also send the tracking data everywhere over IP. So it doesn't matter if the control room is far away or not from the venue. So let's talk a bit more about the crane, maybe on the next slide. So the crane we have to track, it's I think it was a 5 meters long crane. So I don't remember how many feet does it do, Ariel?
18 feet.
18 feet. Okay. So it was an 18 feet crane to track. So we decided to put EasyTrack on this crane with a Lighthouse tracker. It was good enough to track this crane on the every move the crane does was tracked nicely by this tracking system. And the nice thing also is about the time we need to calibrate the move of this crane was quite fast. So we put 3 base stations around the low level stage, and it covers all the needs we need for this crane. And as you can see, maybe on the right side of this slide, I was using my iPad with Wi-Fi just to check and to set up the tracking of this crane. I will talk a bit more about the tracking objects. So the tracking object was on the trophy, and it was on the second level. So we decide for this one to have a small tracker. So we go to the anti-latency technology. So we are EasyTrack Hub is able to get data from this tracking technology. So we put you need to put marker for this tracking. So we put them on the floor just below the cup. And the nice thing was it was not possible to see it from the crane, so it was quite okay. And it was quite small, so it was perfect for this trophy. And also the trophy was very reflective, so it was not possible to use Lighthouse for the trophy. So this is also why we decided to use the anti-latency tracking for this. And it was working quite well. We synchronize the two worlds. So that means we add in EasyTrack all the offset to have the crane and the PTZ synchronized with the 3D position of the cup, and then it was possible to move the trophy in real time, and all the effect we put on top of it was following in sync the cup. So you can see on the middle image, the EasyTrack Hub was on the floor, not far away from the tracker, and then the hub transformed everything over IP, so we send the data to the server room on the control room. And the last slide about tracking is just something about the PTZ. It's so Sony only output one stream. So when we arrive at the venue, we say, okay, we need the tracking data on all the engine because of the setup we want to put in place. So we decide to add one more EasyTrack to duplicate the stream in sync. So it was very fast to do it. And then we get the tracking from PTZ on each engine, and we can use it for portal window effect, or mainly for the flying cam we decide to add. Do you want to add something, Ariel, about the tracking?
No, the only thing is we've done a lot of AR and virtual in the past almost 20 years. This is the first time that we are actually doing object tracking, and the precision of the object tracking was quite amazing, I must say. That's something that definitely surprised us. And one thing again is testing it and seeing it under a lab result, and another thing is to see it in a real scenario where you have people that not necessarily you control whatever they need to do, no matter how many times you tell them what they need to do. So I think that part was a very nice surprise, and I'm sure that it creates a lot of opportunities to do new stuff in the future.
Thank you. Thank you, Ariel. And the last slide is about, I want to talk a little bit about the, but we already speak about this, is about how we use the DMX inside this project. So you can see here some maps we get from before the show from the lighting crew. So they tell us, okay, we will put some lights over there, and there. They give us some reference about super spiky, about the strip, LED strip on the both side. And we decide, okay, let's use the DMX protocol, put this into Unreal, and let's try what's going on. So to do that, we use so we replicate the virtual set. No, the real set. Sorry, was totally replicated inside the virtual world. So this way, we were able to light the set, the virtual characters with the LED strip. So each time in the control room they change the lights, it was changing automatically in the virtual world. So the real light were controlling the virtual lighting, and we get the strip LED. But we also get the data from the Super Spy key. So it was not only lighting, it was also moving. So this is why, if you remember the video we show at the beginning, you see the light moving inside the real venue, but also following the movement into the extended landscape around the venue. So it was quite amazing how when you just plug the lighting inside the virtual world, it's merged much more in a better way, the virtual on the real one. So you have a better integration when you start to use the DMX protocol, because you get the right color on the right intensity, and when it's changing dynamically, it's changing dynamically in the virtual world. So it's quite amazing.
Yeah, and also I must say that it goes also the other way around, in which sometimes we had like virtual light, like the fire, and we wanted to recreate the real environment. So we hook it up also the other way around. So whenever there was a fire effect, it actually affected the real lighting. So I think in that sense, it was really a good integration from all points of view.
There's one particular question about EasyTrack. How long does it take to make it functional, make it work?
Maybe Ariel, you can answer this for the crane. I don't know. How long does it take?
Team is going to be biased, but
No.
I can say from a user point of view and a client point of view of EasyTrack that having been used other tracking systems, the calibration time and the setup was less than 4 hours. So within a day, we had absolutely everything ready, including lens calibration, which I think is quite amazing. So the setup was quite easy, I must say.
Can I add something on there? On my side, we already discussed that we didn't have enough time to set everything up in the venue because we had like a short time for preparation. Team making this in 4 hours was really relieving for us because it was so fast, and so that we actually had chance to rehearsal and do some on-the-go changes to it. So yeah. It felt like 2 years though.
Okay, so Miguel, let me ask you this: did everything fit in the vision you had before the project? What did you think afterwards?
That's something I was talking to Ariel yesterday. That now that I see it out of the rush of the production, out of being on air, I think it's amazing. It looks amazing. When we were on the air, I didn't see it this way because I was running around with the production, taking care of teams and stuff. But now that I see it off, like we're not on the rush of the production, I think it's amazing. Like that one, the one that you have on your back, it's amazing. Like the most amazing part of it for myself is that it's the same physical space that we've been using for 2 years. It looks totally different, like totally different. And you can see it between this one and the Balearian one. They look totally different. It's like if you're in a different space, you know, and that's amazing.
Miguel, can you talk a bit about the KPIs? Maybe you can share a bit about that.
Sure. For the finals, like the whole playoff season, we had 40% more average concurrent users. We usually take our KPIs are like average concurrent users, like, and we also take the PCUs, right? Like the peak concurrent. I know PCUs it's a little bit tricky because it could be just 1 second, but we in the whole thing in general, we had like 40% more audience that we were expecting, like we would have in the same instance in the year before. So I think 40% more audience, it's amazing.
it's a lot, and that makes the fan feedback pretty positive, I guess.
Exactly, exactly. And there's also important to put the finger in that and underline it that esports audience and esports fans are really picky, and they're really um, they don't forgive any mistake. Like if you do something wrong, they're gonna be showing you there what you did wrong the whole time, and that's why you gotta be really careful on what you deliver, because you want them to be happy, right? And I think we did it
The
with these two
standards are
projects.
pretty high.
Exactly, the standards are pretty
Standards
high
are
for
pretty
an
high.
audience. Yeah,
Yeah, visuals are everything for esports audience, so you can't make mistakes with that.
exactly. Because they play video games all the time, so all day, so they know what is going on there. So
And I would say
Cool.
also that
Yeah.
from a difference from broadcast or traditional broadcast, where you see it on TV, you don't have a quick way to interact with the content.
exactly.
While with gamers, you have their chats there, and at the moment they see something, they are going to scream it out, right?
Yeah, they're really vocal about it as well. So in social media, they're really vocal about it. So if they see something wrong, they're gonna shout out, like they're gonna scream around the social media. But on the other side, if you do something well as well, they're gonna go really viral on it on the other side. So it's a two-edged sword there.
So then let's talk about the challenges and opportunities as well, because our attendees commented on, was the PTZ power off was the only thing you had trouble with. So what else? What other challenges you faced during this production?
I don't know, Ariel, if you agree with this one, but working before just with the render of the arena, not being able to go there to the arena, I think was one of the biggest challenges and one of the biggest tools we had as well, because we have, as you can see, we have people from all around the world working on these projects. So that was also another production perk, right? That we could work around something and they just gather 1 week before in the place and set everything up. But I think that was, for me, what was one of the biggest challenges.
Yeah, I agree on that, and I think COVID has forced us all to adapt. But I think this is definitely for us one plus, or a very positive point about this evolution in workflows, where now you can work with teams across the world, coordinate everything, and minimize also the time that you have to be on venue, because that's very, very expensive, and I think that's a very, very positive point.
Yeah, and
What about you, Tim?
Yeah, I think what you said, Miguel and Ariel, about the what I call a previs. It's the time you take to prepare everything before. It's very, very important, and it's because this is where you save time during the show, because you do the 3D. You have to, each time you do a project with virtual production, it's best to modelize in 3D your venue, just to get the right scale, the right field of view. You put your camera at the right position with the right field of view, just to get a nice storyboard or nice previs about everything. So then when you arrive on set, it's quite quick, and what you get at the end is very close to what you expect before. And also in the same time, there is some stuff you don't you can't manage before. So for instance, the trick we have done with the video switcher, this is something we missed before the show, but we develop it in during the prep of the show. And because there is a lot of way to go inside zero density reality, and so it was quite easy to solve this problem. So I want to say it was challenging at the time we did it, but it was hopefully it was quite fast to find a solution. So yeah, this is what I want to say about this. It's that every show is different. Every show you are running fast, but every time we find a solution. So it was quite amazing.
So then let's talk about the opportunities. So Miguel, what was your idea? Actually, I want to move on to what's next as well. So how do you see these virtual events going for esports broadcast? Like the pandemic is sure sped everything up, But do you think these virtual events, this AR and XR is going to be obsolete, or is it going to be widely used in the future? What do you think?
As we already discussed this, our audience has a very, very vocal standard of what they want. So this is what I call the Pandora box. Once you open it, you cannot stop delivering this kind of content, right? So if we start our next season without augmented reality or anything that we just delivered on this finals, it's like going down, right? We already did the level up, so we gotta keep on going. And the challenge here comes: how are we gonna manage to do this? Imagine in this one we didn't have like physical audience in the arena, right? But for next year, if we're, thanks to COVID, go to the venues and have 10,000 people there, how are we going to manage to leverage this technology in this quality of production, not just for the broadcast, but as well for the attendees that are there at the venue, right? So there are a lot of challenges that come into the future, and definitely we have a responsibility with our viewership, with our players, to keep the quality bar up, right? If we already delivered this, we cannot go down without augmented reality. We gotta keep pushing the bar up, right? And yeah, definitely this is gonna stay. There are a lot of challenges, as I mentioned, that how we're gonna integrate this in physical venues and stuff, but we gotta just keep on working and come up with ideas how to deliver to our audience.
Going hybrid looks like the future of these type of events, like having video walls, LEDs, and a small virtual area as well to respond to the needs of the physical audience as well as the remote audience. So it's the future challenges have to do this all, maybe. So Ariel, what do you think?
I think that there are challenges in terms of creative, and there are challenges in terms of technology. The creative side is interesting in the sense that you want to add value, but also add value to the content, not just for the whistles, but actually to give something to the gamers, to the users. On the technology side, we were constantly looking at new things that we can add on. So I think right now we are in a fascinating era where I think a lot of things are coming, and hopefully we can continue to innovate with Riot and others in this market.
Okay, great. So let's start to take a few questions from the audience. Did you find it difficult to adapt to a stylized virtual environment like the Valorant pieces of virtual scenario to the real world footage? If yes, how did you overcome this challenge?
Well, actually, to be honest, we didn't find it too challenging. It's just removing boundaries. I think it's something that once you start thinking out of the box, suddenly you start seeing, and I'm not a creative, I'm more on the engineering side. So I have to give that credit to our team. But once you start thinking that, you know, this physical world can somehow integrate into a virtual world, then you start seeing it. And there is a huge opportunity to do things differently. So I think it's a switch. It's a switch that you need to make. I must say that I'm one of the last person that made those switches. So for that, you need the creative people. Miguel saw it before me.
I did. No.
So, okay, here's an easy track question for Tim. Can the Easy Track Complete Studio Bundle can be used inside Reality Engine with one node, or is it one per each of what is being tracked, like lens, position, object?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we output from EasyTrack a 3D protocol. So for instance, if you want to track one object plus one camera with one box, you need to put two 3D input node inside Reality Engine. Just have to change port number, two different port number, same IP, but with two, you get the tracking with two nodes. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So Miguel, let me ask you, what was the favorite part for you in these two finals, basically, Valorant and League of Legends?
I'm gonna say here that the whole process, like the whole evolving process of the project, like how it started and what we deliver at the end, with all the challenges that we already talked about, I really enjoy the process. Like once you are there on air and everything it's just going smoothly, that's the boring part for me. You know, like all the preparation and all the evolving process of the creative side, of the technology side of it. That's the thing that I enjoy the most.
Okay, what about you, Ariel and Tim? I'm just wondering because Riot Games keep demanding and you keep delivering. So what's your favorite part?
No pressure there.
They would say the end of the project, maybe.
Yeah, it was not
Actually
because
not. Actually not. I must say that at the end of the project, because again, I think that this project allowed us to innovate through the project because it was a project that lasted a month. So basically, you were able to apply to improve things, even to make things different, to add on things that weren't considered at the beginning. So I think that that's the part that I enjoyed the most, to be able to sit with all the teams together and figure out what can we do better, how can we improve, what can we innovate. And sometimes we had to put a stop on that because sometimes you want to innovate, but we need to leave something for the next year. So that's the part I actually enjoyed the most. But on my side, once I saw everything working, it was just a relief, because and I'm sure the first time I showed the zero density what we wanted to do, I felt that everybody said I'm crazy.
Probably Tim wasn't one of these people because Tim knows zero density way more than me, actually. So he was probably pretty much confident about this.
yeah, we were quite confident, but also it was because Arya has so many ideas. He want to play a lot with virtual camera, to go inside the virtual, go back to the venue. So we have to make some nod inside our brain to say, okay, how are we going to do that or that? But so it was quite challenging, and also it was nice to, as Miguel said, the show was during three weeks, I think. So there's the quarter, semi-final, final, and each time we had something more. So we have to prepare. We start with quite very regular camera tracking. Then we had some virtual flying cams, and we had the tracking object for the variant. So there was always something to prepare with, something to innovate. And as Ariel said, we have also to keep some stuff for next year. So it was a good, yeah, it was very, very good and very interesting to work on this, and very challenging. But as Ariel said, I think we quite succeed to do all the stuff we wanted to show to the audience.
So let me ask, I think we skipped this, but every project was like 3 days long, but how long was it? The live show, the live game, because it takes hours and hours actually.
Yeah, like the actual broadcast can be around 6 hours because they play the best of 5 matches. So it could be 3 hours or 5 hours or 6 hours. It's like baseball, you know, you go to extra innings. Tim knows about it. He's a baseball fan. But
Where's your hat, Miguel?
and also like on Valorant as well, it's like tennis. Like if they tie on the points, they go to another point and then they go to another point. So it could be 3 hours, it could be 6 hours, and it's pretty demanding just to be all the time there. And also for the audience has to be really attractive, right? To maintain an audience for 6 hours, it's not easy.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how long it is. Or you meant like on
So
days? Like how many days were they, or?
Oh no, it was 3 days. You mentioned that, but I was asking about how many hours was the live broadcast. So you mentioned it. So every piece of technology you use is actually mission critical because you're live for such a long stretch of time, so you can't make mistakes with that. So yeah, I just wanted to underline that. Onur, do you have anything to add? Ask?
Sure.
Reality perspective.
Yes, I mean, I think first I need to start by stating the following. At the end of the day, we just provide the licenses. These valuable gentlemen here made this amazing production happen. But on the other side, we were more than happy to provide for Riot Games as a client, because they're an amazing brand. They have a very strong fan base, and they are known for doing crazy, daring productions in AR. And as you already know, our history with them also goes way back to 2017 with the AR Dragon flying in the stadium. So we're more than happy to provide them for Latin American region. And we were also more than happy to collaborate with Pop-Up Media in this project, and EasyTrack for the camera tracking side. From our perspective, as I see it, hopefully the project become a benchmark, because it has all of these little unique things, pleasant surprises, nice touches all around the project. I mean, it is such a comprehensive project. I mean, they have utilized multiple LED walls, for example, with a curved LED wall. They also utilized PTZ camera, but the Sony PTZ camera, which was the later product that came after Panasonic, maybe with less number of references, and hopefully it will become a reference point for Sony community as well. And they have utilized the DMX integration. So they have utilized object tracking. They have AR elements emerging from LED wall into real world. So many things, very comprehensive project. I hope that it's going to be a benchmark, and we were just more than happy to provide the technology for it.
Thank you. Well, I'm ready to close this session. I can take your final words on the project, on the future of live esports broadcast, or anything you want to add. Miguel, let's start with you as usual.
Oh, why me? I don't want to be the first guy. I just gotta say, wait for it. This is just the beginning. We're hungry for innovation, and we're hungry to deliver. So this is just the tip of the iceberg of this team can do. So just wait for more deliveries from our side.
Great.
I'm promising stuff here. You see, it's really important. I'm committing.
Yes, we'll remind you. We'll remind you. So we now have this in recording.
Yeah. Oops.
Ariel?
With after what Miguel said, there's nothing I can add to it. So I think he set up the expectations, and that's great. I'm just happy, that we could do this and share also with the community. And I think this is about bringing a community together and helping them understand and help us understand also how we can do stuff better in the future. So that's great.
Thank you. Tim?
Yeah, there's nothing to add that after Miguel and Ariel, as Ariel said also, we were quite happy to share with the community what we have done during this project. And as Miguel said, it's nice to see it again, like 3 months after, because when you are inside the project and then after 3 months, it's not the same. So yeah, I'm quite happy to see again this image. And I want to add one more thing. I want to say thank you to all the team. Because I promised to do it. So from Mexico, I remember Gustavo and all the crew. Mark, also a big thanks to Mark, Aurélien, and everyone. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Well, thank you for joining us in this webinar and sharing your project details, your technology, your vision. I'm sure it helped our attendees to catch a glimpse of what was poured into this huge productions. So, well, if our attendees have any questions for you, they can send an email to marketing@rodensity.tv, and I will make sure these gentlemen answer it for you. And also, before we sign off, let's show our virtual studio to the audience, like where we are broadcasting this. Well, thank you again for joining us.